I just want to thank you, Lord. Yeah. Somebody get that. You're truly grateful. You're truly grateful. You ought to be able to play it like you mean it. There should be no doubt, no to a person next to you, that God has been good to you. Matthew 22. Verses 36 through 40. Verse 36 says, Master, which is the great commandment in the law? Jesus said unto him, Thou shalt love the Lord thy God with all thy heart, with all thy soul, and with all thy mind. Verse 38. This is the first and great commandment. And the second is like unto it. Thou shalt love the Lord, thou shalt love thy neighbor as thyself. And verse 40, on these two commandments hang all the law and the prophets. Being only a week removed from Valentine's Day, I thought it was appropriate to teach on love. All right. Now, what is love? Now, here's something that it's amazing. Because I'm sure if I ask the question in this room today, some will say love is a feeling, love is unconditional, love is faithful, love conquers all. And possibly if I ask my daughter, Darren, that she'd probably say love is like when you love somebody. So, but the bottom line is that it's all of those things, but it's so much more. All right. Understand that. And the fact of the matter is, people have no idea of what love is, but nevertheless, they still use it, right? They'll still do amazing things in the name of love. All right. They'll still go through trials and heartache in the name of love. And even though they have no idea what it is, they still desire to be loved and want to attach things to love. Now, the dictionary says that love is an intense feeling of deep affection. See, that's not enough. I went to 1 Corinthians 13. 1 Corinthians 13. And remember when we was talking about the Bible has scripture for everything? And this was the best example of love ever. Verse 4 says, and this is from the Amplified Bible, it says that love endures with patience and serenity. Love is kind and thoughtful and is not jealous or envious. Love does not brag and it is not proud or Did y'all get that? That was a lot. But guess what? That's what love is. Because the thing is, a lot of times we make love be about that feeling. Like the dictionary said, that feeling. But the thing about that feeling is when that feeling goes away, when it's based on a feeling, a lot of people like to say that they no longer love you. I've fallen out of love because it was on that feelings. But if it's, verse 8 says, love never fails. It never fades or ends. You see that? So that means that true love is everlasting. Right? And to give you an example of that, of course we have God's love, but let me break something down. Our children, we love our children no matter what. Right? No matter what they do, we still love them. They disappoint us, we still love them. Right? They embarrass us sometimes. They make us mad. They make a fool out of us sometimes. But guess what? We never stop loving them because that's a true love. You understand that? But with that person, with our mate and other folks, if they make us mad, if they embarrass us, we say that we no longer love them. So that means what? It never was love. Right? You understand that? Everybody with me? So let me tell you what's going on in this scripture. Okay, in the majority of this chapter, the Pharisees and the Sadducees were constantly trying to trap Jesus with their question, and they did that throughout his walk. And if you don't know who the Sadducees and the Pharisees are, I'm going to explain for you. The Sadducees were the conservative people, and they were only concerned with one area of doctrine. Yeah. And that was the oral tradition. You understand that? That was the Sadducees. The Pharisees, they preserved the authority of the written word of God. You seeing the difference? So the Sadducees were the oral tradition, and the Sadducees was oral, and the Pharisees were the written. And especially, really, what they were the books of Moses. That's really where they hung their hat. Because if anybody's read the Bible, you know they were always saying according to Moses, because that's where they were. Okay. All right. So, but the thing is, as with most religious folks, they seem to always be concerned with tradition. It's all about tradition. We've been doing it this way. And they're more concerned with tradition than they are with the will of God. That's religious folks. That's religious folks. So in verse 36, where we pick up, Jesus is telling them, and basically what Jesus is putting a lot of emphasis on the word love. In fact, the Bible puts a lot of emphasis on love. I researched this, and love is mentioned in the Bible 310 times. So that means that love is special. Love is special for us not to really know what love is. Right? Verse 37 says, Jesus said unto him, Thou shalt love the Lord thy God with all thy heart, and with all thy soul, and with all thy mind. Now, I broke that down because sometimes when we see that love the Lord thy God with all thy heart, soul, and mind, anybody else was confused about that? What those words mean? Yeah. When they say heart, soul, mind? Let me break it down for you. Now, heart is talking about your thoughts or your feelings. Right? Soul is talking about your spirit. That's the easy one. Your spirit. Mind is your understanding, your will, or your character. You understand? Y'all with me? So now we understand what's going on when it says the truth. So you have to love him with your thoughts, your spirit. When we know that when we worship him, we have to worship him in spirit and in truth. And even your understanding, your character, who you really are. Right? That's why your life is a sacrifice. Right? But the thing is, somehow we've gotten away from God and forgot about his love. Jesus. So, for example, now what I'm going to do is I'm going to use marriage because, we always use, marriage is easy because that's the thing that when it comes to love, that relationship. And if you're wondering why Ephesians 5 talk about husband, love your wives, even as Christ also loved the church. Okay, so our subject for today is, now we're talking about love, right? Our subject for today is, it's time to rekindle. Yeah. All right. It's time to rekindle. It's time to rekindle. Now what is rekindle? To excite, stir up, rouse anew. The cause to begin burning again, ignite again. That's what rekindling is. Now understand this. Every relationship goes through the similar things. You start off, when you first meet them, you can't wait to see that person. Remember way back then? I know some of y'all have to think back further than other people. But can't wait to talk on the phone. Yes. I remember when I was young, when I was a teenager, and you used to be on the phone, and you would fall asleep. You remember you'd be on the phone and say, "You sleep?" I ain't sleep. You sleep. And then the next morning, when it's time for school, you still got the phone to your ear every night. But guess what? And every night you look forward to being on that phone. So every relationship starts off in bliss. Everything is beautiful. Then as time goes on, things start to dwindle. Before long, we tend to lose focus. Then we start entertaining the thoughts of separation. Yes. We start thinking or exploring our other options. Yeah. We want to get away. We start to think about escape. We're talking about rekindling. Now, why is it important to rekindle? Watch this. Because if you do not rekindle, a divide has been created. Right? That divide has been created between you and God. Right? Yeah. You've been separated from Christ. And as a result of that, it's impossible to do his will. Are y'all understanding that? Is it because if he said that on love, he summed up all the 10 commandments with love. Right? Right. So if you have gotten away from loving, then it's impossible to keep those 10 commandments. And that's why it's very important that we get back to where it began. So we have to go back to, remember when you first joined church, you was excited. You wanted to tell everybody. You want everybody else to be saved. Right? Yeah. When you first got baptized, you came up, you was ready. Well, some of us got baptized really young. But when you know what you were doing. But see, the thing is, you have to understand that love is what keeps you. Love is what keeps you here. Love is what, when you would have cursed somebody out, that love for them is the reason why you wouldn't curse them out. You understand? That love for them is why you wouldn't murder people, why you wouldn't slander, why you wouldn't do anything to hurt somebody, because of that love. That's why Christ said it's about love. You understand that? That's why love is that important, because when you have love, then guess what? I'm going to watch what I do, because guess what? I don't want to hurt you because I love you. Right? But see, when I don't care, you make me mad. Jesus. See, when you're going through something in marriage, you're arguing, let's be honest. Sometimes we get to the point, guess what? I'm hurt. I want to hurt you. You understand? But love would establish the boundaries.
Yes, sir. That's true.
You understand that? Okay, now, so here's the thing now. In order to rekindle, because that's what it's about, rekindling. The first thing that you have to do is what? You have to identify the problem.
That's right.
I hope y'all being quiet because y'all paying attention. You have to identify the problem. Because why? If you don't identify the problem, then guess what? In due time, it's going to happen again.
Yes.
True.
So that's why you have to identify the problem. And guess what? You know what it basically started from? It all starts with communication. There was a breakdown in communication.
That's right.
You understand? This is when things started to go bad. Breakdown in communication. Now I said we're talking about marriage, but also even with God. What is that breakdown in communication with God? Because it wasn't God. Because God is faithful. He never changes. It was us. At first I was excited. Now all of a sudden, I ain't going to church this Sunday. Breakdown in communication. Then you don't miss another Sunday. Then you know what? I don't have to read the Bible every day.
Jesus.
You understand? We was at the spa last week. And Solanda, a lady came up and she introduced herself as a Jew. She says, I'm Jewish or whatever, right? So what happened is the lady began to say how most people never met a real Jew, right? But I'm a real Jew. And the first thing she told Solanda was, it's not Sunday, because Solana was reading a book on the New Testament. It's not Sunday. You don't have to read today. I was like, so she was talking, because she was on the opposite side of Solana. But when she said that, so then she started saying, she was trying to validate who she was. I teach the children at my church, and I teach them Hebrew, and she started going through all of these things, right? And at first I was like, you know what? I'm not going to say anything. Right? I'm like, I'll let it go. Then I was like, you know what? It started bothering me. Sitting there listening to what she was saying. And because she was like, see, y'all waiting on the second coming. We're still waiting on the first coming. And Solanda, sometimes Solanda can be messy. Solanda was like, you heard what she said? Because she's trying to... And so I sat up. I said, well, let me ask you a question. So you talking about keeping the law. I say, but what happened to the sacrifices. Why do you no longer sacrifice? Because I know Jesus was the ultimate sacrifice. He was the Lamb of God. It coincided with the lamb that was to be slain in the even time for the Passover. He was killed in time for the Passover. All this, and when he died, the curtain was torn in the temple, right? To the most holies of holy, right? Because he was the ultimate sacrifice, which symbolized we no longer had to go to a priest on our behalf.
Right.
Now we go to God, right? Well, we go to Jesus now, right? So I answered that. And when I got to breaking it down for her, she said, "That's interesting." She said, "But you know, as time goes on, things change. As time goes on, things change." And then somehow, amazingly, she shot the deuce and got up and left. But I'm still stuck because understand this. If you don't understand the importance of sin, how important sin was, because sin separated man from God. That's why the sacrificial system was in place to atone for our sins. But the thing is that it was still not enough to atone for our sins, which is why Jesus had to come. And when Jesus came, he restored us. Right? He restored us to one with God. So if you're saying that as time goes on that you no longer have to do things, what happened to the importance of sin? How important sin was? If nothing happened in between there, then you should be doing the same thing that you were doing before Jesus came. Does that make sense? And see, when you ask people those questions, that's why they can't, because guess what? A lot of people claim this Bible is not all of this, but guess what? When you ask them the questions, they can't answer it. Because see, you have to know the Bible and understand 66 books about the same thing. But you need to know the connection. Because it's not just here, it doesn't make sense. Like I talked to a guy one time, he said, well, it doesn't really matter. If it's in there, it matters. You understand? It matters. But what has happened is our opinion. What people have told us has come into play, and we start getting away from it. So what if Solanda would have been like, okay, she just came out the water, and this lady that's a Jew, right, I told her that you don't have to, so what is she to listen to that? And guess what? Started saying, you don't have to study on Sunday. It's not Sunday, I don't have to study. Because see, that's the thing with most Christians, they make it about one day. They make it about one day instead of it being a lifestyle. Right? I got another set. So, like I said, it was a breakdown in communication. And as a result of that breakdown in communication, what's the next thing that happens is complacency happens. Now, complacency is when you start taking that person for granted. Right? You know what? We've been married for X amount of time. Because, you know, I remember the old folks saying that the same thing you did to get your baby is the same thing you have to do to keep your baby. But with complacency, they ain't going nowhere. We start taking them for granted. Right? Even with God. God gonna bless me anyway. I mean, you know, God knows my heart. That's the most damning statement you could ever make.
That's it.
God knows your heart because he really does. Because guess what? You understand that with God, it's not about the act. It's about the thought. So you don't have to even do it. Once you think it, you're already guilty. You understand what I'm saying? That's important. That's serious. That even when I think it, it's the same thing as doing it. But what we think that, okay, I didn't do it. So we think that we're all right. So we become complacent. Right? And as a result of breakdown in communication, we become complacent. Then as a result of being complacent, intimacy is compromised.
Come on now.
Intimacy is compromised. Y'all understand that? Y'all understand that?
Yes.
Because guess what? When everything else is happening, we're going to further separate. You understand that? And the thing about the intimacy part of it is it has the ability to bind you, or separate you. It has both of those things. And the intimacy with God, because God requires us to be intimate with Him, right?
Yeah.
Because see, when things start to happen, when we stop talking to Him, we start taking Him for granted. Now, hey, all of a sudden, we're not worshiping anymore.
That's right.
We don't left away from that. He used to be. I once was on fire, but now it doesn't take all of that.
Jesus.
Right.
Quote unquote. It doesn't take all of that. It doesn't take all of that. The Bible requires us to live our life for God, but you have people that have been in the church for X amount of years that'll say it doesn't take all of that.
Jesus.
You understand what I'm saying? How crazy is that? And guess what? These are the same people that those that are babes in Christ will turn and look to them for their advice.
That's right.
But just like I've always said, wrong people give the wrong advice.
That's
You know what I'm saying? And guess what? See, the thing is, it's not on them. You're the one stupid if you listen to them. You understand? Because guess what? If somebody that is not married is giving you marital advice,
Jesus, help us, Lord.
and you're taking their advice, yeah, like so and so say, or the hood way, everybody say.
Come on.
Just everybody say. How? Because guess what? Sometimes you gotta go through. Now I understand this. Experience is not the best teacher. Instructions is. Right? Because most time when you have to go through it and experience it, you're too hard-headed to understand the instructions.
Yeah.
But sometimes you need somebody that's been there. You need somebody that's been there that can explain, okay, that understand that, hey, some days, you know what? I don't love Solanda. That's how I feel.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? She done made me mad. Some days like that.
You better tell it.
Some days I'm rolling my eyes. I'm looking at her rolling my eyes. I know she feels the same way about me because she usually tell me. You understand? In those times, it's hard.
That's right. That's right.
And guess what? You know what? Let me tell you something. We went through a whole lot, and it was rough. But you know why? Because I was Derek, and she was Solanda. We wasn't one. And I remember she would always tell me, you're a married man with a single mentality. And the thing is, because we was arguing when she was saying, I never heard it. That ain't make sense. Don't try to get me. It don't even make sense. You know what I'm saying? Because that's how it is.
Yeah.
But then when I began to think about what she was saying, because I really was that single person. For a year, about a year, I kept my clothes in the car. For a whole year. I was ready. It didn't matter what? You know what I'm saying? Had nothing, I'm out. Sometimes I want to go to New Orleans, I'm out. You understand what I'm saying? And that's what happens.
You're preaching.
You know what I'm saying? That's what happens. That's why it's important that we rekindle. Because all of these things are happening. And one thing that I learned this from the military, right? When you're shooting, if you're shooting an asthma trying to get somewhere, and you shoot that asthma, we're out in the field, in the woods now, and I look at a spot that I want to get to, I get the right asthma, the coordinates down. If I'm a click off, the further I go away from the target. Right? So now if I would have caught it here, I could have just went back. But the further I go, if this is my target, the further I go away, the more I'm separated from where I need to be. And see, that's why it's important to rekindle, because guess what? Sometimes trying to find it from here is hard, because guess what? I could be another click off. You understand?
Yeah.
That's why. So sometimes you got to say, you know what? Let me go back to where it began, and let me start all over.
Yeah.
Because sometimes you don't know. We don't know what we don't know where we went wrong.
That's right.
We don't know what we went wrong. But what's obvious is, okay, we're not communicating, and all of these other things are in place as a result.
Yeah.
Sometimes we're not even trying to figure it out. Now, the next thing is, in order to rekindle, once you've identified the problem, you have to implement change.
All right.
You understand that?
That's right.
You have to implement change. This is a plan of action. See, because you never identify what's wrong and do nothing. When you're sick, you go to the doctor, right? When you're sick, you don't go to the barber, because that wouldn't make sense. you have to address what's wrong, address what the issue is. Right?
Yeah.
So you implement change. Now, here's the thing about implementing change. It requires maturity.
That's right. That's right. That's right.
It requires maturity. Because you have to realize that I'm hurt, I'm in my feelings, I'm not trying to hear it. Right? That's how I was. That's where I was with it. I wasn't mature enough to understand what's really being said is very important. Right? It takes maturity. And see, the thing about change is, watch this, change is instant. Right?
Yeah.
Y'all follow me? Everybody understand that change is instant?
Uh-huh.
But what takes time is the process.
All right.
Yep.
The process takes time. Let's use our relationship with God. Guess what? We came to God when we got ready. Right? In our right time, we came to God. Right? In our right time, we came to God. So why is it that when we talk to other people, we want them to change right there? You going to hell, I want you to change. That's not the way God did it with us.
Right. Right.
Yes, sir.
Scripture said some water, some plant, but God gives the increase. So guess what? Somebody could have planted that word a long time ago, years ago. Right? And then somebody else came and watered that. Hey, remind us. You understand?
Yeah.
So we have to be mature enough to understand that. And the thing is, in our relationships, guess what, Diane? You see dying every day. So guess what? Whatever's happening with dying, if it's not drastic change, you'll never see it. You know when you're going to recognize it? 2 years later. That's when we see it.
Right.
Right now.
Because every day I see I'm complacent. We're not talking. Intimacy compromised. I'm not seeing what's going on with you.
My.
You know what I'm saying? You ever watch a movie where they say, the husband said, that's a nice dress, and say, yeah, I've had it 2 years. You're not paying attention.
All right.
You're not paying attention. Because the thing is, it's hard to see the small changes.
Yes.
It's hard to see that.
Yes.
Even with our kids. You know, we'll take the kids they haven't seen family in a year and they say, Lord, you've grown. And we're sitting there like, yeah, I've grown. But you're not able to see it. You're not able to see it daily. You follow what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So maturity, and you have to trust the process.
Jesus. Yes.
We talked about last week with praying. Guess what? You can't pray for them that they change. You can't change their free will.
No.
Ask God to work on you.
Jesus.
And guess what? As he works on you, then you'll be able to recognize. Then you'll be able to change some stuff maybe that you was caused. Because here's the thing about us. We're never wrong. I never did anything wrong. I am always right. But guess what? If you ask Solana, she's gonna say, nah, actually he's never right. You understand? But guess what? We take that mentality with us. That's how I was. And guess what? When you have that mentality, nah, you can't tell me nothing. Because I'm right. You see what I'm saying? And I will find an excuse why you saying that. You understand? And guess what? We do the same thing with each other.
Yeah.
We do the same thing with guess what? Let me be honest. We do the same thing with God. Could you imagine trying to reason with God?
Jesus.
I mean, ain't nothing wrong with a little. That's what we do.
Yeah.
God.
Yeah.
God don't mind if I, it's not bad. I mean, you can. And guess what? You know what we do? We go look for the rest of the hellions that's doing something worse than us, and we connect with them. You know what I'm saying? Hey, ain't nothing wrong with me smoking.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? If you doing whatever, you a murderer. You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? I'm gonna be with you. And guess what? Of course, if you find somebody that's doing wrong too, guess what? They're gonna say, yeah,
Ain't nothing wrong with it.
ain't nothing wrong with that.
Jesus. Help us,
And it's
Lord.
amazing.
Help us.
And guess what? When somebody comes along and tells us, hey, thus said the Lord, you're wrong, and use the Bible, you're wrong. Let me tell you something about church folks. Church folks are the most religious, but at the same time, unreligious people that you ever meet. Because guess what? Cross a church person when they wrong and tell them about the Bible, about Jesus, and see what happened to you and possibly Jesus. And see, won't both of y'all get cursed out? Church folk. Been in church for years. You understand? But those are the one that say don't take all of that.
You better tell
You know why?
it.
Because they ain't living this. They're not living this.
Right.
You better
You
tell
know what I'm
it.
saying? They just going through the motion. This is what we do on Sundays.
That's it.
You follow me? This is what we do on Sunday. Hey, it don't take all of that. That's what they're going to say.
Jesus.
And some of these, it baffles me how they come up with these things that are not biblical, and they implement them and go through. And you know what? In one of the church that put me out 2 years ago, I remember I was talking to them about women wearing pants. And they were saying, because Solanda, we understand, we know the Bible.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So Solanda had on jeans, and they was calling a meeting. We're gonna have a meeting about dress code. And they told Solanda, we didn't exist, but that was her letting her know that she's gonna be in the meeting. You know what I'm saying? So and one of my masters, I was telling him, I said, well, how can you hang a religion on women didn't wear pants in the Bible days when men didn't wear pants either? Because pants was not invented yet. So how you have a religion based on this? You see what I'm saying? But guess what? A lot of times we celebrate stuff, we don't know where it comes from, and we just pick up because you know why? We ain't reading about it because it don't take all of that. You understand? So you celebrating stuff that you have because I guarantee you, I can ask most of the church people about the thing, this in church. Everybody grew up with this? When you get ready to go to the bathroom? Where it came from? Where did it come from? Where it came from? From the slaves. From the slaves. They had to get permission from the slaves. But here it is, 2016, and you get up to go to the bathroom, and they tell you, put your finger.
All right.
You see what I'm saying? How we celebrate stuff? Tradition. And the thing about tradition, most time it's worth nothing.
Nothing.
It's worth nothing because guess what? When you read everything about Jesus was what? He broke tradition. They would say, hey, what you doing talking to them? You know who I am? You know what I came to do? See, most church people, they only want to witness inside the church.
All right.
That's where they do their witnesses, inside the church. Oh, God is good. Because we was at church. Oh, man, let me tell you something. We was the only people in the church that were sinners. So I denied. It was because one day God told me to go up and tell them because I was still struggling with gambling, and God told me to go up and tell them that I was struggling, and I'm like, and guess what? Let me tell you something. Because the pastor was like, he said, if you're tired of dealing with something, now God gave it to me, right? I'm still sitting. I ain't going, not today. The pastor said, if you're dealing with something, you ready to get rid of it, come up and give it to the Lord. I ain't going. So I'm sitting down. I'm looking at everybody like, she hit it. So I said, okay. I get up and I go to the front and I tell the pastor, I said, I'm tired of gambling. Right? And the pastor says, tell him. Tell who what? Tell him. Now, let me tell you this. Let me tell you how God works. Because at this time, let me tell you, I had two biggest fears. My two biggest fears were public speaking and embarrassment.
My.
So guess what? I was afraid to say it, and I was embarrassed by it. But see, here's what the enemy will do. The enemy will use that to keep you bound.
Yes.
He will use your fears because that's what your fears do. Your fears paralyze you. And they affect your decision making. So guess what? Had I not been obedient to God, and guess what? When I turned around, I just began to talk. Now, this was before I started teaching and stuff. This was before all of that.
Right.
And guess what? I don't know how good Dion's memory is, but guess what? When I was young, sing, I never said anything. I beeline to the microphone and I sing. And I go back. That's it. Never said anything. Because when I begin to speak, I would stutter. I would get nervous. I don't know what to say. I start rambling.
My God.
That's how I was. So when God was saying, when I was understanding this call, I'm sitting there saying, I can't.
All right, Moses.
You understand what I'm saying? And so guess what? You have to be obedient to God. And give this thing. And guess what? Let me tell you something. These people, they was like, oh, they was loving me. They was loving me. They was loving me until I started teaching the word. When I started teaching, I remember one guy saying, hey, what religion are you? You understand what I'm saying? And guess what? The same people that celebrated me, oh, we see God working in you. Now, here's the thing. The pastor told me, he said, you get ready for everything that you say to be challenged.
All right. That's right.
Guess what? I didn't know the challenge was going to come from him. I'm not going to tell y'all exactly what happened, but when I got Salanda to see it, it was very obvious about what was done. And once I showed it to her, she said, okay, I'm ready whenever you are. I called the pastor and said, hey, pastor, I'm not coming back anymore. He was like, all right. That's how it was, because guess what? People don't want you to mess up their traditions. Because guess what? We doing it, and let me say this. When I would teach, there would be members that would come up to me and say, I always wondered about that. So that means that there are people there that don't know, that's been under your leadership, and guess what? You're responsible for those people, for those souls. While you sitting there playing God, going along with something, guess what? I will not. I will not. No. We all have a responsibility to spread the gospel.
Yes.
You can't spread nothing that you done heard. You need to know what you're spreading. Because if I ask you what's your name, you tell me about Sam. She's going to be able to tell me about her because she knows that.
Jesus.
But if I say, tell me about that, tell me about something you don't know, so guess what?
That's right.
You know what you're going to repeat? What you've heard.
That's it. That's it.
That's it right there. You're going to repeat what you've heard. And guess what? God is so much more than what you've heard.
Amen.
That's why he requires that relationship. Now, the other thing with implementing this change, it requires maturity. It requires dedication.
All right.
You have to be dedicated to it. You have to be dedicated. With any relationship, with anything, you have to be dedicated. Because that's where it is. It's in the dedication. Because when I'm dedicated, I'm not going anywhere. I'm faithful to it. I'm going to be here. You understand that? And 1 John says that, 1 John 4:8 says, the one who does not love does not know God. For God is love. You got that? So the thing is, until you love the Lord, then for one, you can't love nobody else.
That's right.
Until you love the Lord, until you have that relationship with him, you can't have a proper relationship with anybody else. That's why it's very important.
Yes.
So that's why we need to get back to where it all began. That's why it's important to get back to where it all began, so we can start over and say, okay, you know what? Let me do this thing. Now that I know, you know what? I have kind of become complacent. I don't read like I used to. I don't attend services like I used to do.
Yes.
That's why you have to get back. You can play that song. You can start playing that song. Did you lose it? So let me, in my close, there was a man that he grew up in church. Then as he was saved, as he got older, he moved away. He stopped going to church. And then one day when he was visiting home, he went back to the church. And when he went back to the church, all of a sudden, he started getting those same feelings that he used to get when he was in church, when he was a member of that church. And it started reminding him of everything that he had missed. See, because what has happened is he's gone 2 years, and now he's looking back at where I was, and not even understanding that I had no idea that I was here.
Jesus.
And the first thing that he began to do is he began to scream, "Rekindle my fire. Rekindle my fire. Rekindle my fire." So he went back to where it all began, right? And he started over. So my thing is, maybe there's there's someone here today,
Jesus.
right, that understand, being honest, understand that, guess what? It's time to rekindle.
Yes, Lord.
You know what? I've separated myself from you. I've taken advantage, taken for granted your love.
Jesus. Jesus.
And want to say that, you know what? Today is the day that I want to start over. I want to start over and give my life back to God. I want to put everything in order. In this moment, it's time to rekindle. Because guess what? Tomorrow is not promised. Tonight is not promised. So the thing is, this is not about becoming saved, right? Understand, this is not about this is a rededication. We have rededication services for our kids. But guess what? How many times do we rededicate our life to God? And guess what? Just because when I was 6 years old, I got baptized and did a bunch of things that was not pleasing to God in between that time and now, doesn't mean that I'm still in right standing in the same place that I was when I was 6. It takes rekindling, takes forgiveness, right? It takes forgiveness. It takes honesty to say that, okay, here I am, Lord. I'm available to you. I want to give my life to you because guess what? I was going through the motions. I was saying what I heard. So now I'm saying, you know what? I am available to you. In this moment, I give my life to you. You know what? From this day forward, I change. I want to change, renew my mind. Because it's not about me. It's not about you. It's about him. It's about his will being done. You understand? That's what it's all about. Nothing more. Now, everybody, I want you to just close your eyes and I'm going to pray. Father God, I trust your word. And I know that you are great. And I know that you are worthy. I know that you can do all things. So God, I ask that you would just manifest this word. Make this word come alive in their lives, in their heart. God, I pray that this word ignites that change that is necessary to fulfill the Great Commission. God, we understand that so many, the foundations are damaged, are destroyed. It was founded upon tradition. It was established upon hearsay. So God, we want to destroy that at the very core right now. We want to destroy that at the very core right now and start anew. Start anew from this day forward to be available for you, to be used by you, and only by you and for you, because so much is at stake. Our homes, our lives, our relationship, our marriages are at stake because we have lost and forgotten how to love. And we want to go back there right now to where it all began, with love. With love. We want to rekindle that fire. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen. Come on, put your hands together and give God some praise.